Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today we're streaming with strangers. Today's stranger is guest Jay Berg of protoblock.com. How goes it, bro? Much
Hey.
appreciate you coming on the show.
No, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Say, man, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? Maybe let them know a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got into the crypto space, and how that led you to what it is you're doing now in the industry.
Okay, wow. So yeah, I'm Jay Berg. So long or the short version of it.
Oh man, give us the middle area, that sweet spot, medium rare.
Okay, so I let's just start back from 1987. How about that?
All right, perfect. All right, I'll be
Okay,
right back, guys.
okay. Literally, so okay, the stock market crashed 1987. 12-year-old kid, poor neighborhood, Brooklyn, New York. Word in the school is that people are jumping out of offices because of the crash. I knew my dad was in the markets, so I caught running home, go to the train station looking for him. He's not there. Next thing I know, he's driving down the street in a brand new Lincoln Town Car because he predicted the crash of '87. And
Whoa.
from that point on, I made it my life mission to understand how to make money, predicting the stock market. And that led me to actually coding algorithms to actually predict the stock market. So let's just say 30 years later, I get my master's degree. I start working at Fortress for Mike Novogratz in like 2007, doing high frequency trading, market making. So, I spent my whole life on coding financial markets. And so I was like really primed for Bitcoin. So long story short, I had my first baby. I was trying to build a home theater PC. So I got all the parts, I built it. Then I was looking to overclock it. I went to overclock.net. Next thing you know, I read an article about how you can make money, doing like GPU stuff with Bitcoin. And I saw that the thread got locked and there was a lot of drama. So I read the Bitcoin white paper, and I mean, the rest was history. Before long, I was, um, you know, told my wife we're gonna make this is it. All the stuff I've done before, ignore. This is the final one. I bought 2,000 coins at 99 cents,
Wow.
and it went up 600%, and I sold at like $6, and I was a superstar. But yeah, so Satoshi, the white paper kind of showed how um, a coder himself doesn't need to talk to anyone, be hired by anyone. You just make money out of thin air just using computer science, and I was all in since then.
Wow, man, that's crazy. So you went from looking into how to overclock some computer stuff to realizing you could take that computer stuff and make money, basically make it a money printer.
Right, exactly.
That is
Um,
amazing. Wow, dude. So, how did that kind of segue into what you're doing now with protoblock.com?
okay, so I was really into computer science and financial markets, and let's just say way back when, I got into a conversation. It was actually like a Skype call with Daniel Larimer,
Oh, wow.
Charles
That's
Hutchinson.
from, if everybody doesn't know, he is the creator of BitShares, Steemit, and
Right,
worked with the team over at EOS.
right. Not everyone knows that he was actually in partnership with Charles Hodgkinson
Of
from
IOHK, that is Cardano, everybody.
right Cardano. So the question was, this is way back when, before the word was even out, or maybe it was. So we were trying to figure out if there's any other use of blockchain besides for Bitcoin. And back then, it was a very high bar we were trying to reach, where you needed an actual utility inside the blockchain, right? Non-currency,
Right. Like a real true utility.
inside the
Inside,
blockchain
yes.
utility. So I come from Wall Street, a lot of gambling on sports, NFL. Um, so one thing I knew that, you know, a fantasy football player, I realized that here's a way to actually create a futures exchange for hedging and speculating in fantasy football on chain. And I wrote the white paper 2014 called Satoshi Fantasy. So really, it was just, it was kind of, taking everything from my background, my trading, my coding, and also my sports background. And, I found an actual non-zero utility. And I tried to do what Satoshi did. I tried to write the white paper, release the code, and walk away and see what happens. And that's what I did. And nothing happened. So I stayed with it, for 5 years. And this is the end of that first journey.
Wow, man, that's pretty badass, dude. I like the concept of putting together like fantasy sports and cryptocurrencies, because right now I feel like Binance is like the fantasy football of money. You know what I mean? We go in there and look at BitTorrent token, and we're like, oh, yeah. I hope that's the Michael Vick of my team right now in my portfolio.
Right.
So,
and
yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just was like going to say, so you do a lot of publications. Like you sent me some reading materials earlier where you talk about exchanges and things like that. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your publications, because I've kind of saw that you get a lot of reads, man. You got some good material.
Right. So I have a lot to say, and saying it and fighting it on Twitter doesn't seem to work. So I started putting out longer Medium posts. The latest one was about distributed exchanges, and kind of just putting in perspective what's possible, what's not possible, to try to really frame, like what could be the future of Bitcoin. And so that's kind of, I'm not trying to say, so kind of was a little negative saying like DEXs are impossible, but they're impossible in a certain sense, and they're possible in another sense. So.
Right, and you said distributed exchanges, not decentralized exchanges.
Right. Well, decentralized. So the purpose of an exchange, let's just start back. The purpose of an exchange is if I wanted to buy something, right, gold, right? And I want to get the best price, instead of me having to go find everyone who's selling gold, right? I know I could just go to one place, and that place is where everyone wants to sell gold goes to, and it brings all the liquidity. And I don't even have, and I know based on the rules of the exchange, I don't even have to worry about what the current price is, because I know it's the best price. So I just buy, right? And that was one of the purposes of so one purpose is liquidity. The other purpose is, credit risk. If I just buy from someone on the street, who pays first? Is it real gold? Is it not real gold? So the exchange takes away that risk. So you only have to trust the exchange. So those are the two purposes for exchanges. And what was your question?
No, we can segue around. I was just saying, like, the difference between decentralized exchange and a distributed exchange, because that's what a lot of people, when they think of a DEX, they think, super decentralized, which is a blanket statement. There's levels to this shit. It's just not decentralized, blanket statement.
Right. So in the 80s, the term central limit order book was way before Bitcoin or anything. It was called central limit order book because they realized really early on that even a centralized exchange could only have a single matching engine on a single thread on a single computer. Otherwise, you cannot sync because of the Byzantine generals problem. So the same problem with Bitcoin is the reason why New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, all the electronic exchanges, you cannot have distributed matching engines. It's impossible because you have no way to synchronize because things are happening too fast. So so the whole idea of distributed matching engines, is, in my opinion, impossible. Even today, Bitcoin solved the problem of double spend, but so far no one's ever solved the problem of the ordering inside a block, right? The ordering inside a block is up to the miners. If the miner could reorder the transactions inside a block, then he could front run. So, we could get into this, but from my days at high frequency trading, where people were fighting over nanoseconds, here you have 10 minutes, which is 100 trillion, 100 gazillion nanoseconds to front run,
You
right?
would think that this trading 24/7, nonstop, all around the world, in and out of all different types of currencies, would have the institutional investors, drooling. We're barely seeing a percentage of the odd traders, the people who are already trading the oddities in the institutional world. They're barely touching on this stuff. What do you think's really keeping them away from these exchanges? Is it credibility? Is it liquidity? Is there nowhere for them to trade hundreds of millions of dollars, so they just don't see a reason to?
So it's funny. So, when I first got in, one thing I realized with Mount right away was that for some reason, Bitcoiners decided we're going to ignore everything that Wall Street learned over the last 100 years, and we're going to start from scratch. So we literally started from scratch. And it's like, back in the day, this is a very Bitcoin-like vibe when the traders were coming in and, outsiders from Wall Street and coding. So we learned a lot. And now Bitcoin, we're starting over, and there's a lot of mistakes happening. So it's kind of like until you have a professional exchange with liquidity, you're not going to get the big boys in. But I'm telling you this much. I mean, they're here. They're taking, they're here, and there's still a lot of opportunity, low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what they did with the futures. I'm a little skeptical of the success that an ETF will bring. Just me personally, not. I mean, I don't think that it's the move that's going to bring in the institutional capital. I think that, like what you're saying, we need that New York Stock Exchange in a sense of Bitcoin, and I think New York Stock Exchange is that. They'll just incorporate it and start trading it, and I feel like they will have the 24/7 trading, and they're going to incorporate the technology to have these tokenized assets, so you could trade securities and stocks just like you do these cryptocurrencies. They'll just be pegged and to a stock or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think the ETF is a big deal. I don't like the CME contract. I like what Beck is trying to do. What's it called? Backed. I like what they're trying to do, but that's the point is that, I guess these decentralized exchanges are really just, remember you used to go to the kiosks in in the airports or in like a beach town to like trade your currency for euro or pounds, right? The currency exchanges. That's kind of what a decentralized exchange is. It's a single place where a single person's selling, and the person buying is really buying it because he wants to keep Bitcoin for a long time. It's a one-time purchase, so he doesn't really care about the price per se. So it's not an exchange in the sense of a New York Stock Exchange. It's more like a kiosk. So this whole idea that distributed exchanges are going to overtake centralized exchanges, I think it's just impossible. So that was my only point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, and a lot of those centralized exchanges actually serve a lot of incentive for the large traders. Large traders, they don't want to be buying and selling on the market, right? They love this OTC shit that they're taking advantage of right now. They don't want to buy $10 million worth of Bitcoin this week, and next week they hyperinflated the asset that they're trying to invest in. So when they buy it, they're just causing it to keep going up. They're not actually getting any support from the actual market. They want to be able to go in and out, like you said, the people that are going to hold it, right? Like when I go and sell Bitcoin, I don't really like to sell it on an exchange. I mean, what I'd prefer to do is find somebody locally that wants to buy Bitcoin because they want to hold it as a store of value, a long-term investment. So when I sell a Bitcoin, it doesn't hurt my portfolio that I'm still holding of Bitcoin. It actually increases it. If I sell it at a 5% markup of market value to somebody who's holding it long-term, I just increase my portfolio 5% long-term.
Right.
And I think that's what institutional investors are looking for with the centralized exchanges versus the decentralized exchanges. The centralized exchanges will be holding those assets and taking loans off of them rather than dumping them into the market for fiat, causing issues with their holdings after they've invested.
Right. So 90% of participants in exchanges are not interested in the asset at all. Right. So the 10%, so they're just there. In theory, they provide liquidity. They're there for trading, buying and selling. and it kind of works in a sense. But you know, you're just talking about the other 10% that are just there for Bitcoin, right? That's fine and good. But the guys that are, you know, that are looking to make, let's call it alpha, right? Especially if they're looking to make alpha dollars. So I think people like you and me, we're looking for alpha Bitcoin. Like, we'd rather make Bitcoin. We're not interested in dollars. They're still interested in dollars. And in order to make dollars, you need to be able to go in and out instantly in a fair way. So at the end of the article, it's called On Dex. I come up with a crazy solution called reality arbitrage.
I didn't get that far in the article, man. It actually was kind of mind-blowing, the reality arbitrage. And I saw some comments from some people I really follow, and I was just like, oh, shit, man. Like, I'm going to have to double read this. I'll have links to the articles, guys. Check it out. It's blog.protoblock.com, right?
Yeah, it's also on Medium, right?
You got to get on Steam it, bro. Are you on Steam?
I am on Steam.
Nice.
It's been a little bit, yeah.
Well, if whatever you do on Medium, just copy, paste, upload on Steam. I mean, you'll be talking right to your, you know, crypto heads. Medium is a big place and all, but it's not really, like, it's like a very small percentage of people care about blockchain and crypto there. On Steam, everybody cares about blockchain and crypto. It's a
yeah, I love Steam. I think Steam is one of the only real utilities.
I know, Dan, come back. Finish this fucking beta already.
See what Steam? What you see? One of the things that I'm doing with Protoblock is because of what happened with Steam when they let everyone go, right?
Yeah.
So basically, it doesn't matter what the coin does. A decentralized distributed blockchain has no business model, has no profit revenue, and so it's kind of more like an open source, you know, open SSL type of project. You can't really have employees and fund this.
Right.
And I realized long term for Protoblock, in order for this to work, it has to work on its own. So kind of like, as I've been in the forefront of a lot of things, I am building this atomic swap. I call it a three-way atomic swap.
Kinky.
Kind of. So it's like a way to govern, a way to continue a decentralized project without a central entity. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, one of my buddies just said they're powering down their Steam, and I'm actually doing the same. I'm using my Steam, though, to kind of hedge into Steam Monsters, the tokenized asset on the Steam blockchain. So,
Steam Monsters?
Yeah, it's like a card on the Steam blockchain, and they're scarce in resource. So, you know, I got one that's 1 out of 29, and on the market right now, it's like selling for a minimum of like $800. So if I went in and sold it for like 6, I'd probably get the crypto for it pretty quick, undercutting the market. But
is this Peppy Cash? Peppy Cash?
Sort of something like that. You know what I mean? It is cards on a blockchain. It's a website that has the UI to see the blockchain. It's all text-based like Steam anyway, but it's really cool. It's steammonsters.com. And if you want, I won't show them, but I'll give you one of these cards. It has a code under my finger, and it will give you 30 of the cards on the blockchain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I play the game quite frequently, and every so often I'll win a decent card. And that's why I'm taking my Steam and putting into this game, because, like, you know, moving forward, I think people are going to look at, you know, more so 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. So if I spent 1 Bitcoin on, you know, this painting right here,
right,
I'm going to want at least 1 Bitcoin back for that. That's right. If Bitcoin goes up or down, right? If Bitcoin goes down, obviously I want more. But if it goes up, I don't care about the dollar. I at least want 1 Bitcoin now. So these assets that are tokenized, if I spent 200 Steam, in the future, I'm at least going to want 201 for my investment. I want to make something off of it or break even.
Right, and I think that's you reach a good point. I think the big mistake with the space is converting everything to dollars. I mean, if Amazon starts accepting Bitcoin, but everything's priced in dollars,
what's it matter?
It really doesn't help.
Not at all, dude. It hurts because they'll be dumping. They'll be liquidating on the market all day, every day. Just sell.
This whole using Bitcoin as cash and things that are priced in dollars is
you know what, dude? I got a question for you because I feel like you're gonna have an interesting insight to that. What are your thoughts on Binance allowing people to invest in and out using debit and credit cards? It's into anything, you know, not just Bitcoin.
Is that from the US?
I believe so. I read the articles and I took everything off of Binance. I'll be honest. I took everything I had off of Binance. I feel mandatory KYC is inevitable after something like adding debit and credit cards like this. But yes, as far as I do know, in the US, people can buy in and out on Binance with their credit card.
Okay, so I mean, be honest with you, I left Mt. Gox in December of 2013. I'm still on Bitstamp.
Oh wow,
Um,
OG. Okay.
yeah, so haven't really touched. I did a little Poloniex. Haven't touched Binance. I like the CEO a lot. I think there's no reason why Binance. It sounds like they're going after Coinbase
Yes.
with that play. I think it's a much. Yeah, I would choose Binance over Coinbase at this point. I think it's. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. He does. He's not afraid of all the risk of FOMO and more. But if that's possible in the U.S., I mean, that's kind of like a game changer.
Yeah, and I think it
Um,
really affects Bitcoin right now. A lot of people are excited, but I feel like it's stealing credibility from Bitcoin. And a lot of retail and institutional investors that would come in to buy an ICO or anything, they had to buy Bitcoin. Then they would
right.
buy Ethereum. Then they would buy the shitcoin of their choice. But common trader perspective is they would keep 5 to 10% of the original asset they bought to buy the second asset, because that's in their mind the foundational asset. Now if I have to
Yes.
buy this thing, I have to buy these things. So to to kind of diversify and counter FOMO, if my third asset goes up, obviously the foundational layer is going up with it. So
Right.
they kept 5 to 10% in Bitcoin or Ethereum before the shitcoin, and now they're skipping that, right? And Bitcoin's main use case was helping you get other cryptocurrencies, and now with Chainalysis, it's really defeating the purpose of anonymity and synonymous
I'm not
transactions.
sure that the price you're gonna get, the markup you're gonna get for buying, Tron on with your credit card through Binance. I mean, compare that to buying Bitcoin and then buying Tron with Bitcoin. I think you'll do better going through Bitcoin. So to me, there's only one asset that's the most liquid to fiat, and that's gonna be like the on ramp. So all the retail play like Coinbase, you always get a 10-20% extra.
Yeah.
Um, so even if that's the case, I think the big money is still going to go through Bitcoin. And think about it. This entire space is inside the Bitcoin ecosystem. What happens in the space is 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 pro Bitcoin. Every single price move is beta Bitcoin. That's why I get really upset when these coins come out and try to compete with Bitcoin. Like
Stable
it make
coins are the biggest competition for Bitcoin right now. They
What's
have
a stable coin? A credit risk?
they have sex appeal, dude. They're just they're sexy. They're like undercover spies is how I see them.
Like
Especially like the
Steve?
Gemini dollar. No, no, things like the Gemini dollar, like where they have the ability to freeze assets and do like charge, like that. It's basically Fed coin what they're doing over there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but you have it's totally not. You have decentralized. You have what's it called? Risk of censorship, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but I mean it's appealing to people though, right? They feel like, like people are really not they're not interested in being their own banks. That's a fact. Nobody I talk to that's like they're like, "Oh, I can be my own bank. Cool. I'm totally getting into." That's like the last reason people give a shit about Bitcoin. They have to have fallen into a hardship and have had censorship from a bank before. That's like topic of conversations are more around like the adult industry and cannabis industries and things like gambling. I don't know if you've heard, but in the UK, I seen a weird article about how they're making porn illegal or something. They're banning porn on the internet. I don't
wow.
understand it, but it's the censorship the aspect, the censorship resistance aspect that really appeals to people about crypto. Nobody wants to risk losing their own money and not having somebody to yell at.
Yeah. I mean, it's regulatory arbitrage. So a lot of these laws coming out making gambling legal. The way you kill Bitcoin is I mean, the only way the government could kill Bitcoin is making everything legal, removing all laws, and then you don't need Bitcoin, right? You know,
Depending, I mean, there's If even if they made everything legal, you would still have the problem of like chargebacks and
Right.
third party risks like me calling the bank after I go through your trash and just having your money moved around and stuff. So there's a lot of reasons that appeal, but I don't know. Yo, I have the chat asking, what's up with the DEA hat?
Okay, so the
Am I
name of
getting
my
rated?
the name of my white paper, Distributed Engineered Autonomous Agents, DEA agents.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yo.
So my white paper describes using these agents. So it's about bringing data that already has consensus into the blockchain.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like each individual sits in front of their computer and types in what happened in the Super Bowl, right? So that way you already have consensus and we don't need an oracle. But practically, you hire an agent to do it for you, a DEA agent.
That's awesome,
I'm
man.
also a big anti-drug war guy, or I was. So.
That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome. So, what are your thoughts on like the future of decentralized exchanges? Like where does it start? Where do we start? Because like I'll kind of stage it a little bit with perspective I've had. Like, and I've said this before on podcasts where, Poloniex was acquired by Goldman Sachs, and now the developers who used to trade have to go through mandatory KYC. Just don't see it being necessary. So now they kind of have an incentive to build in a decentralized exchange. And as centralized exchanges get, more and more anti crypto to like the people that built them, you got to understand the people that learned blockchain trading and tech and coding and all this, like they were the enthusiasts of the space. They use these exchanges like we all did. That's why they built them.
Right.
I don't see the centralized exchanges eventually having the incentive to keep these people on board, the people that do build them. I think that we're going to see like whatever Bitcoin is to money, we're going to see a similar thing, a decentralized exchange, for that. Like,
Right. So the two answers. First of all, atomic swaps. Atomic swap. Let's just say inside a blockchain. I know one of the things that people misunderstand about blockchain is I'm not talking about on top of Ethereum. I'm not talking about on top of
man.
something else. I'm talking about an actual blockchain that you write from scratch. It used to be you had to write your own blockchain, right? When you write your own blockchain, you actually could do whatever you want, and you have a lot of freedom. And then an atomic swap to Bitcoin means that whatever your blockchain utility is, you use Bitcoin as the currency. You get in and out through that on chain, and then you have your utility, and then you don't actually even need it kind of is a built-in exchange itself. Now, so that's kind of like the future, I think, of of going away from the centralized exchanges. I'm talking about crypto assets.
Now, dude, I'm totally 100% on point with you. The only thing I'm afraid of is all exchanges have incentive to lobby against atomic swaps. We're gonna see that shit suppressed for a long fucking time.
But that's the whole point. You can't stop it. It's a decentralized, distributed blockchain.
I feel like it's gonna be one of the biggest inside fights we're gonna have in this regime. You know what I mean? It's gonna be an infight because a lot of companies have built themselves into a position of making money off of this revolution of currency, where they've made themselves third parties in a battle where we don't want third parties.
Right.
We praise them because they're helping us now, but we're giving up a lot of power to have them in our team. I think atomic swaps plus lightning channels, it's going to change the game, period. Like once we have lightning channels where, say for example, Goldman Sachs wants to have 100,000 Bitcoin sitting there for lightning transactions. Now, if you want to send anywhere around 90,000 Bitcoin back and forth through a lightning channel, you're going to have to go through them and pay their fees on their lightning channel.
Right.
So that's like the future of banking and exchanging with atomic swaps and lightning channels.
Yeah. To me, atomic swaps is I know there's maybe I'll piss off some maximalists, even though I'm a maximalist. I mean, I think a sidechain, if you think about it, a sidechain is just an atomic swap. So any token that has an atomic swap is equivalent to a sidechain. It's all about being inside the Bitcoin economy ecosystem. So
Yeah, what are your thoughts on like color coins and things like burning Bitcoin to create other coins backed by that Bitcoin?
I hate burning coins. I mean, I hate burning value. Maybe give it to some charity or something.
Well, that is giving it to a charity, right? If I burn
Uh,
Bitcoin, anybody holding Bitcoin, like essentially your value has been kind of stabilized. Like that, the 26,000 Bitcoin that are locked, unfortunately, because of the owner of the exchange in Canada who passed away, that actually helps me a lot. That's kind of like great for my Bitcoin.
it could be. It could be. There's another theory that, like the whole Keynesian theory. You need more Bitcoin in order to get the economy going.
But it can
Uh,
be broken down so far, and we can still take that number and update and
so
and
why don't
break
we
it
do
down
that? Why
more.
don't we just start talking about Satoshis? How about that? I have 100 million Satoshi,
Right,
right?
right. I,
But
I
we
feel
can't.
like that would we were probably going to start with bits first before we say sats. Like we're gonna,
We tried, but it never worked. Like this whole point 0.00001. I mean, it gives you a headache, right?
yeah, but it's worth paying attention to in the long run when you look at the market go from 4 cent Bitcoin to $20,000 Bitcoin, and you've been rounding up to the point 0.001. Are you serious? You
Yeah,
better start like that's going to the gas station and not caring if they round up to the nearest dollar every time.
right. Exactly. I mean, so it's actually amazing what just happened, and you know, it's funny. You're fighting with Bitcoin. You're fighting with people on the internet when Bitcoin's at $1, saying it's a scam. Then it's at $10. Then it's at $100. And at $1,000. And at $10,000. And no one's fucking changed their mind. It doesn't matter if we're the number one asset of all time, right? Everyone still keeps fighting, 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 and they're not going to stop till $1 million. So, I mean, I think we're right on schedule. I really don't think there's any competition to Bitcoin.
No, and I
Um,
think it will start with like that, like a weird trend of status symbol. Like right now we have like, the crypto millionaires or whatever, but
yeah,
wait till the regular fucking millionaires get into this. There's not enough Bitcoin to go around, there's a lot of rich fucking people out there that if they decided to get into cold storage and wear, where do I got it? Right here. I got, an open dime. If they decided to wear this around their neck like they do necklaces and stuff that are made
hmm
out of gold, they could have $100,000 right here on the flash drive, and it would be just the same, and they'd be competing. It'd be a status symbol. And once
right.
that starts to happen, where like Justin Bieber tries to make his own token like Tatiana did, wait for that to go and take off.
Yeah, I think they're buying right now. I think that this last bottom is where the regular hedge funds are going to get in finally.
I see Bitcoin Jake in the chat said like when Satoshis are $1. Actually, I don't believe by the time that happens, I don't think we'll be using the term dollar anymore.
No,
Our,
right.
our, our great grandparents or great great grandparents would go and use ounces and grams and stuff like that when they were talking about gold and silver. Or we don't use the same terms as our ancestors, and in the future
I,
they won't use the same terms as us.
I
And I
would,
really
yeah,
think dollar is a dead terminology.
I would say penny Satoshi will be the final.
Yeah.
There's someone's Twitter account, one penny Satoshi.
Yo, what are your thoughts on like different stable coins? Like instead of a coin pegged to the dollar, right? Like what about a
Yeah.
coin pegged to a nickel or pegged to a penny? When you said penny Satoshi, I've had conversations like that with people. I'm like, why not, a token that's non-denominable. It's a state one to one.
Yeah.
I can only send one dollar token and a couple quarter tokens and a couple nickel tokens if I owed you change. Like what would that look like? Is
That's
that
interesting because it's funny because a lot of the math, a lot of the theoretical, a lot of the simple math, it sounds like it's ridiculous. For like when a stock splits in half, they double the number of shares, the price drops, but actually change. It actually is good for the price, even though nothing's changed. So that I've never heard of that before, but I bet you if someone did a penny stable coin instead of a dollar stable coin, that's pretty interesting. Stable coins have been around for a long time. And it's just a centralized credit risk. I mean, unless you're talking about like Steam dollars, but um,
Well,
you
even
know,
they're not stable. I've seen Steam dollars go from a dollar to like $12 at one point, and now negative a dollar. So
all I would say, I would never sit in Tether or any of these stable coins. Maybe you use it to go, maybe you want to use it to get across exchanges, but always either sit in the exchange in the dollars on the exchange or in Bitcoin. I mean, a stable coin could go to zero overnight in an instant. Someone's
yeah,
gonna be holding the bag. I mean,
They scared the crap out of me, man. Like so much so that I never actually touched one. I never held a like a USDT or a
USDT, yeah.
TUSD or GUSD. I never held any of them, man. The only one I might even ever have consider is Steam. That's it, the Steam backed dollar,
Right,
because
Steam
it's
dollar.
always worth $1 worth of Steam.
Yeah, I mean, if I was in charge, I would take every single volume from USDT and remove it from CoinMarketCap. Those are all, those aren't real. And then, um, I don't like the USDT pairs myself. But I mean, this fight has been
Yo,
very.
you know how there's only 21 million Bitcoin, right? Apparently, like that's all there's ever supposed to be.
Yeah,
How
I
many do
don't
you
see
think are
that.
really out there because exchanges are loaning Bitcoin out to Bitcoin that other exchanges are loaning out for Bitcoin?
I mean, what's the float?
Yeah, like do you think that we're at the point of fractional reserve Bitcoining if we don't start auditing now? Like what's the true circulating supply right now? Like what people think they own. If everybody on Coinbase wanted to, pull out, can Coinbase do it?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I think Coinbase could, but I think the bigger question. I mean, take the CME contract for example. People think they're long Bitcoin by buying the CME contract. I mean, they're not long Bitcoin. I mean, there will be an event one day where the CME contract will underperform Bitcoin by hundreds of thousands of percent. When that move happens, if you don't physically have the private keys, you're fucked. And these are one-time black swan events. But yeah, at that point, we'll see, which exchanges are doing it right.
Yeah, there's
I
no
don't know.
incentive to go long on the futures, and I feel like that's something people never considered. But there is absolutely zero incentive to go long on a futures on Bitcoin. First off, if you're holding, you're not getting any of the forks that you can then put back into Bitcoin to get more of the forks that you could then put back into Bitcoin to get more of the forks. That is right there. Why would I get a futures long? I mean, I would just keep shorting it. And that's
No,
what
but
they're doing. They're buying OTC and they're dumping on the market while their hedge bet against that price action. They're a fucking win-win every time.
I mean, yeah, when the futures contract settles at a price in dollars, I mean, it's one thing if you could actually take delivery of Bitcoin, but if it just settles based on some random price, we're just asking for trouble. So it's all about the next move. I mean, the move to 100,000 is going to be so swift and so unexpected that it's just going to blow up all around you. You just want to be in the right position when it happens and not be stuck in the middle of some whacked out exchange transfer somewhere, right?
Yeah, and like one of the comments just said, yeah, with custodial as well, there's no forks. And a lot of exchanges, I think, have gotten heat for this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a shit ton of airdrops throughout 2017 into 2018 that started to become worth quite a bit of money. And if even if you invested in an ICO and you use your exchange Ethereum address, like Poloniex receiving address for Ethereum for an ICO, you lost those tokens. They were gone.
Right.
And some exchanges, as the pressure built up, started listing the token and then supporting it in the wallet and trying to go back to a snapshot and making things right, but a lot of them did not. I'm just curious until when these custodians, like Coinbase custody and things like that, actually are going to be held accountable for the theft that they're doing to their investors. Because if you're holding, if you're doing Bitcoin through a custodial service, they have your private keys. You're not entitled to the forks or to the airdrops or anything like that. And then they start selling them back to you later on when you want to get into it because you never got the pairing. What does that look like legally? I don't see that something that they'll survive. I feel like that's where they're going to end up putting the proverbial, knife right in their foot.
Yeah, I think when you're holding on Coinbase, you're really just interested in the dollar value, and you're not really interested in Bitcoin
Wait till
itself.
Bitcoin goes to $100,000 and people are pissed that their Bitcoin Cash is now worth 10,000 because it just is, or they didn't get any. They're just.
I don't like forks personally, but I do believe that there's value to private keys in various different scenarios, and even private keys that don't have Bitcoin anymore. Even private keys that you transferred, like you said, it could be because of forks or there's actually other reasons. I mean, especially my things that you mine. So I mean, I think that holding your coin. So the way I see it, so talking about custodial, why hasn't there hedge funds come in or Goldman Sachs come in? It's because the guy who knows the most about computer science in Goldman Sachs could steal all the coins. And if it's not the CEO, it's just not doesn't make sense. So the future companies,
He's
the
right.
top coder needs to be in charge because he could steal everything, and there's
That's the real
no
paradigm shift, ladies and
right.
gentlemen.
Exactly. That's it. And the custodial is the scariest thing I ever heard. I mean, it's a huge honeypot. One day it's just going to disappear. Um, so yeah, hold your own keys if you could, and that's why what they say in finance. You only get returns based on the risk you're taking. So the risk we're taking, it's called complexity risk. We're one of the few percentage of people in the world that know about managing our own private keys. We're getting paid for that. And that's why this returns are astronomical. Once, the general public is able to do this, the returns to Bitcoin should become, more subdued.
Yeah, especially like I said, like the crypto dust and the price accumulation and everything like moving up. Not just looking at the decimal place, but looking at the blatant thievery of these custodial exchanges. It's going to incentivize more, being your own bank. It's going to incentivize that risk. What would you call it? That was interesting.
Um,
Ah, rewind that, guys, because that's the word I want to use. But yeah, that risk aversion there is going to become worth more while. The risk in which I could lose my private keys versus I could
complexity risk.
Complexity risk, right? Thank you. The risk at which I could lose my private keys versus the risk at which I could lose an airdrop or a fork that I could then put back into the thing I want or hold or do whatever I want with. It actually may completely outweigh eventually. Right now, maybe not so much, but if you have hindsight and you look back a little bit and look forward just ever so slightly, Bitcoin keeps forking. It's not stopping. And if you keep holding on Coinbase, you're just making them, the center point of your own failure while stealing money from you.
Right.
Everyone's digging it. Yeah, dude. Thank you guys. Much appreciated. Full node February. Yeah, I definitely need to start running a node. I got to do something. I don't know. I want to contribute a little bit. Where is it at? I have a little Litecoin miner I want to set up and figure out how to start mining and contribute that way and run a node. I want to get one of the Casa nodes or something or a Raspberry Pi and start contributing.
Do you have one of the things that I think people running nodes at home, a lot of people that just turn on a Bitcoin full node in like Comcast ISP, they're actually not doing anything because of network address translation. So I think that's something that we need to look into to see when you're running a full node, if people are able to find you, right?
Well, Blockstream has the satellite now, right? So you could I think it's only like $120 or so for the Blockstream satellite node. And you can sync to the blockchain from space.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. And I would like to open like a Lightning channel too, man. Like imagine, if all of us crypto Twitter nerds had Lightning channel where, we could transfer funds around instead of using these wallets and exchanges that just take. We could have a pretty good thing going. It comes back to community building, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't looked at Lightning myself. I mean, we're still trying to figure out Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. And I like trying to look ahead, man. I'm a big fan of Rootstock. I think Bitcoin smart contracts, once they have the scalability that it's needed, I think Bitcoin will actually host more ICO like events than Ethereum ever did.
Could be. What do you think of the block size or
Ethereum's?
inflation? No, do you see what happened in what was it called? Satoshi Roundtable?
Well, there's gonna be more side chains, I believe. More, like I know a lot of people don't believe in side chains, like segregated witness and things like that. But to alleviate the congestion, I do. I think that we're just gonna see more fragmented ways of what is it, like signing a transaction and submitting it to the blockchain. It may be able to decrease in size, or I don't know. Bitcoin blocks may have to get bigger.
Yeah, they were talking about making it smaller. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, making them bigger. And I'm okay with inflation as well, but
If there's more use case, right? But like, with Bitcoin Cash, they have 16 highways and nothing happening. So I mean, we got to wait for that. Like right now, Walmart doesn't accept Bitcoin, and Amazon doesn't use, Bitcoin smart contracts or whatever. It's not that we have to wait for the use case to come before we start scaling it. Like if we had really invested in the internet as much as we have, now we never had fiber optics. Then we would have spent more money in setting up than we did investing in the tech moving up.
right. And if you look at the internet in the United States, it's kind of crappy compared to the rest of the world, because everything's like hodgepodge together. So it could be that that's what Bitcoin is.
I'm gonna have to check out Blue Wallet. Apparently it's for Lightning Network and there's no extra fees. Thank you, much appreciated, audience.
Cool.
The block size debate is over, says DJ Meat Popsicle.
I don't think it's over. I think, it's been sidetracked for so long because of the insanity of, I'm not a fan of the Bitcoin Cash. So.
Me neither. I'm not a fan of anything that's competing with Bitcoin rather than complementing it. But sometimes competition is a way to complement it. Bitcoin's better, stronger now than ever. Bitcoin Cash is obviously doing what it's doing. I'm not too upset that I sold it all, and that's what I mean about these forks. Like it's up to you to do what you want. But if I get a fork and I put it back into Bitcoin, and the next fork I get more of that fork coin, and just keep doing it, you're just accumulating so much more Bitcoin than trying to hedge into Ethereum and these other coins right now.
Yeah. I think if you want to, speculating in altcoins literally makes no sense. You just buy Bitcoin. It's you have enough volatility in Bitcoin. Altcoins are just they're just beta Bitcoin with more volatility.
Yeah, I don't see any coin ever overtaking Bitcoin's market cap with any kind of sex appeal or future features that Bitcoin can't steal. If it's a true, cryptocurrency, it would have to be, open source software, and the Bitcoin developers will just see it and take it. And Bitcoin can do whatever your favorite shitcoin can do and better if it chooses to.
Yeah, I don't even think Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's market cap is, you add up all the coins' market caps, and that's Bitcoin's market cap. I don't even think it's apples and oranges.
I forget, somebody was talking. I don't remember who it was, but it was if you have Bitcoin, like if you had one Bitcoin and all the forks that have taken place, and you just added them up without ever selling it, you just hold it. That's what Bitcoin's really worth. But I'm like, no, because if I bought Bitcoin after the fork, that doesn't apply to me. So that's not a fair statement.
Right, exactly. I think the forks are bad for Bitcoin, but I think other blockchains could be good. So.
Okay, so somebody said Walmart in Venezuela accepts Bitcoin, and I would argue that no, they don't. They're dumping it into another currency immediately. It's not like they're using Bitcoin to pay their employees or to supply their inventory from their store, from suppliers. That's accepting Bitcoin. If you accept Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, and then you use Bitcoin for your business, that's accepting Bitcoin.
Okay, so you're onto something, because nobody accepts Bitcoin, even all the Bitcoin conferences, and even all these fucking steak dinners and stuff.
Oh, fuck those fucking whale club dinners for fucking, I hate, fuck those dinners.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you doing with your crypto right now? Like, do you spend it, or do you just trade? Do you check out any platforms that you can earn crypto from?
Yeah, I've spent. I moved to California in 2013. I spent all my crypto, and now I need some sort of income. So yeah, I've just been living off my crypto.
Same, same.
Yeah,
I
little trading here and there, but
I quit my day job the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, and I traveled the world, took over 100 flights, went to about 6, 7 countries, attended 50 blockchain conferences, more meetups in between, all kinds of cool things. Went to sex expos and erotic conventions, gaming conventions, cannabis conferences, all thanks to Bitcoin, man. But yeah, bear market woes, bro. I'm like, I'm looking, I'm waiting very eagerly for something that, like Celsius Network. Is that something that you have on your radar?
I just heard of it recently.
It's
No,
really interesting. It's just, it's a way to loan your crypto, similar to,
right.
I think it's like
Getting
live
interest.
interest. Yeah, but I
Right.
think it's considered like live interest where you don't really necessarily have to give it your private keys. But if you were to take any of the Bitcoin off the wallet, you just don't earn interest off that Bitcoin that you moved anymore. There are freeze periods that if you wanted to earn more, and it's not like you're earning like 10% a month like fucking BitConnect. These are
Why are they giving you interest? If are
I
they
want
take
to
are they taking loans?
I want to get Alex, the founder, on the podcast to get more info out of it. I'm not 100% sure enough they really answer, but I do know that obviously they're loaning out. I think that they have their own pool based on how much is in these wallets, and then they can loan out to people who are like margin trading,
Right.
and start to
It's all
really
about the shorts.
right.
It's about short selling. The only way to short sell Bitcoin is to borrow Bitcoin. So
And
that's going to be a huge market, right?
yeah, exactly, man. Especially since Poloniex went through and got rid of that in the U.S. Now, even if you go through Poloniex and you do the KYC, just because you live in the U.S., you're not allowed to loan your Bitcoin out. But
Yeah, I
but
missed the whole polo madness.
You can go to Goldman Sachs right now and you can give them all your money and they'll give you 0.01% interest on your fucking fiat. I hate banks. Yeah, Poloniex, I did pretty. I did that. You know, if I was gonna leave my coins on an exchange and have that risk, I was getting paid to have that risk. There was no way I wasn't getting paid to have that risk. So I did the 2 a day reoccurring loans on Poloniex, and the day I heard that they got acquired, I pulled everything off of Poloniex. I went live everywhere, and I told everybody mandatory KYC is coming. Winter's
Right.
coming. Get your money off of there. And a lot of people didn't really listen to me, man, but
All
it
right. So that's
happened.
what I say. The alternative to holding your own private keys is to do what you do, and what I do is you could keep your coins on exchanges, but just as soon as just move out immediately, be the first one out of every burning building,
And I
and you'll
think
be okay.
Binance is going
Yeah.
to be the next one with this fucking credit card and debit card fiasco. I don't think that's going to go well. Credit cards and debit cards and banks have already excluded themselves from exchanges by saying, no, we don't do business with them. So it doesn't matter what Binance says. If Visa says we don't fucks with you, Visa don't fucks with you. It doesn't matter if you accept Visa.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
this is a hat trick right now, I think, to pump something like whatever's going on over there. But I do have worries about U.S. residents trading on Binance. They've been getting away with that 2 Bitcoin a day, no KYC stuff for a while, and now this whole credit card debit card thing on top of the insider, like people are speculating there's some insider things going on with the listing of Tron and BTT with Justin Sun and CZ.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't understand why we need another token from Tron. Like, wasn't Tron enough? Why do we need BTT?
I don't, dude, it sounds like slavery with more steps. Like they literally took something that we were doing peer to peer without any central point of authority, and then they put themselves right there. Like they were important. Like nobody in piracy ever needed a token.
I don't think it even affects the BitTorrent network. We could just use, one of their competitors.
I would never use it because I have a feeling in the background of your fucking BitTorrent, it's going to be mining BTT and stealing some of your computer's power. I have no trust in BitTorrent anymore. It is completely gone. I mean,
It's
what pirate's going to fucking ask you to pay him for something he's been giving you away for free? Nobody.
actually,
Yiffy
yeah.
is a hero, a unsung hero. God bless Yiffy. but there's so many people that have been posting like amazing stuff on pirate sites forever, and they've survived off of, you know, donations from Bitcoin, and that's about it, really.
Yeah. Cool.
So what are your thoughts on the space moving forward, man? What excites you? What's your personal roadmap?
Personally, I don't know. I'm looking, so I'm looking to kind of see. So I feel like there are no users at all in the space. Everyone's a speculator. Let's just say anyone who's never touched Bitcoin or is not a software guy is not using blockchain. And I know this from first experience. So I spent 5 years pitching to the fantasy community. They're just not ready. So it's going to be about maybe 5 years for users to show up. So until then, I think, it's, I think there will be like a Cisco and an Apple and an Amazon that comes out of this, kind of like what happened in the dot-com bubble. There will be 1, 2, or 3 protocols that actually have utility and survive. Other than that, I would just really just sit in Bitcoin and, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, stop the drama on Twitter, come together somehow. It just let's cut 2017 and 2018 out of history and go back,
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. If we could just get some of these crypto Twitter trolls to start being more progressive than digressive, maybe their fucking bags would stop dumping on them. You know, it's you're being toxic. You're not being very proactive for the environment. But then again, you know, I don't want to perpetuate people that have responsibility with followers and call it power and, you know, say that they should respect that. You know, shit posting's awesome, do you? But just know it ain't. Are you helping or hurting your own future there? You know, everybody, I want to say thanks, Jay, for coming on the podcast. Guys, awesome. Check out protoblock.com and check out his blogs on Medium. Maybe we can get him to start posting more on Steam. Maybe.
Yeah.
What's your username on Steam, or Steam it at what?
It would probably be at Protoblock.
All right, let's make sure, guys, because we're gonna go over there. We're gonna upvote, and we're gonna make sure we motivate this guy to get on Steam it. Because what if Medium one day decides they don't like blockchain like Facebook and Twitter, and then they censor you? And YouTube does with content creators who create content about cannabis.
Yeah, I'm pro Steam it.
All right, guys. Hey, Jay, thanks again. Don't forget, guys, pound the thumbs up button, click subscribe, flick the alert bell, and have a day.
Thank you.